But would you, at this point, I take off on Wallace Stevens, say, as Duke Ellington or Count Basie would take off on Irving Berlin or Cole Porter. Except my folk that I'm taking off, or pop that I'm taking off on, is of a higher order. So it's sort of, I sort of have the instruments imitating Wallace Stevens himself. Really. It's called Pas de Deux. And so it's in two parts. One and two. Part one. All art, said old Walter Pater, speaking of Sandro Botticelli, constantly aspires toward the condition of music. So it is swing that is the supreme fiction, madam. For, given the concreteness of physical experience per se, our primary concern is the quality of our consciousness, how we feel about it all. And swing, which is movement, and counter-movement, which is life itself, is that elegant resilience that poetry would reenact, its verbalization being aesthetic kinetics. After all, madam, or rather, first of all, is not the primordial function of verbal enchantment the refinement of our physical responses? The objective of poetry is to be moving, madam. Poetry is the supreme effort to make words swing. But according to Vico Gambattista, 1668 to 1744, before articulation became narration, there was only exclamation, onomatopoeia, along with pantomime. Yes, as James Joyce came to know, and Kenneth Burke came to say, poetry is symbolic action. And symbolic action, madam, is the dancing of an attitude. And dance, madam, don't mean a thing minus that insouciant element of swing. There's your supreme fiction, madam. It ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it. L'envoi. It must never be more gymnastic than elegant. That's a bad poem. This is called Premier Cru USA. It's the cream of the crop. American social science survey technicians, whose modus operandi, nay sine qua non, is segregation, continue to proliferate norms and deviations that are invariably skewed to support the folklore of white supremacy and the fake lore of black pathology. But the anecdotes that most immigrants find most representative are those Horatio algorithm that relate and reiterate how the white human trash of Europe interacting with other human trash of West Africa and elsewhere in accomplishing what the red-skinned elite of the forest primeval had no Aztec, Inca, Mayan, or Toltec plans for, became the demographic cream of the crop that by mid-20th century had already rendered the Almanac de Gotha obsolete. Here is due at the castle for dinner and global negotiations bearing non-Greek appropriations. Oh, the progeny of all that Mayflower, middle passage, and steerage flotsam and jetsam, Your Highness. That's who. You know, with Henry Kissinger. If you didn't know, if your grandparents were in the Almanac de Gotha, and you still live in the castle, maybe you're invited. And now it's Colin Powell. This is before, I wrote this a long time before Colin Powell, but that's because I know the United States.